Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Sunday chat today is going to wander around aimlessly like it often does. At least it's on Sunday this time. First thing I want to do is thank everybody who supports the channel, and that's getting a bit detailed lately and I've had a few complaints. So thanks for everybody who watches the videos and does the thumbs up. Thanks for everybody who supports the channel financially in whatever way you do. So that's the thanks done. It is appreciated, don't get me wrong. But I'm not one of those who does all that sort of thing in every single video. I know some do, but I don't. Sunday will do. And right, what else? The channels. I just want to explain what's going on. Most of the people who watch my other two channels, not all, most of the people who watch the Gardening Channel and the Bonsai Channel are based here on the Orchid Channel. Some people that are based here have no interest in the other two. Some people that are based here watch both of the other two. There's a variety, okay? But I have a vested interest in getting YouTube to pay me as much as possible for the videos and the work that I do. That way I become less dependent on financial support. There's a reason in this madness here. So as I explained, the plan is to utilize the Bonsai Channel, which is already monetized. The Gardening Channel is just going to take too long to get there. And all of the videos for this year that would go on the Gardening Channel, as far as earning some money from YouTube are concerned, would be wasted. By putting them on the Bonsai Channel, they will earn some pennies. So that's the idea. The two channels are going to merge together. This will happen during this coming week. I won't say which day, but Tuesday or Wednesday. It won't be tomorrow. That's my day off. Do 6 days a week as it is. I know I don't always do 6 days, but you know what I mean. So it will happen during the week. Tomorrow is my day off, and hopefully, all being well, my new super fast broadband will be installed tomorrow. The hub has arrived and some of the wiring, I'll show you, it's very nice. Much more modern looking than the pile of junk I've got at the moment. Actually, it's like a piece of furniture almost. It's even got a USB port on it, but it's only got 3 Ethernet connections, well 4 including the connection to the box that will go on the wall. But that's enough for me. I only use 2 Ethernets, one for the laptop, one for the TV, and the other one's spare anyway. So yes, so hopefully that will get installed tomorrow morning. The guy's due here between 8 and 1. Nice and precise. Yes, so that should all go well, I hope. The worst case scenario is it'll all get installed, but the hub won't be able to go where I want it, which is on the table here, where the other one is, because it's the far side of the room, and he may not have an Ethernet cable long enough to connect the two. So I might have to put up with it in a different place until I get a longer cable. Also, the Ethernet cables I've got that connect the TV and the laptop will need upgrading, because they're either Cat 5e or Cat 6, one or the other, and the Ethernet cables that came with the hub are Cat 9. And I had to look up the difference between the two, and it is quite dramatic. The amount of data that can go through a Cat 9 cable is enormous. Well, given the bandwidth and the super fast broadband that's going to be installed, I would suggest we allow as much as possible through the cables. So I'll probably upgrade them. That's not urgent, it'll work fine with the cables I've got. It's just most of the work that I do wouldn't warrant that actual bandwidth, so should be okay. We shall see. I won't cancel the one I'm with at the moment until this new one is up and running, has settled in for a couple of days, and I'm happy that it's all okay. And then we'll get rid of the old one, the other one. So that's that should help. The thing that's going to help with most is upload speeds. if I do a really long Sunday chat like one of the 55 minute ones, it can take over an hour to load onto YouTube, and that's times 2 because the Sunday chat goes on the an ad-free version goes on the Patreon site, and then I have to load it again as a normal one that's sort of monetized on the ordinary Orchid channel. So I have to load the thing twice, and I can walk away from it. I don't have to sit there and watch it, but I need to be around, you know, to do stuff. So getting that to be greatly speeded up will be marvellous. Right, yesterday was the first Orchid Society meeting of the year, and I've spent most of this morning playing with money. It's one of those meetings where the subscriptions are due for the year, and also we've got this trip to the Mathers Foundation coming up in April, and people wanted to pay for that. So I've got some people paying for one, some people paying for the other, some people trying to pay for both, some people trying to work out how to do it online, some people trying to write cheques out. I lent them a quill and some dippy ink to do their cheque. Yeah, it used to be a big deal, cheques. It's not anymore because they just go in the post office with all the other money. And the books didn't balance, which is, it's unusual. I'm normally okay. But the way that the money was getting thrown around and flying around, plus I had 2 people dipping in to help, so it wasn't all me sat, you know, and it's £4 out and it's £4 up. We have £4 more money than I have accounts for. So I stuck it in sundries and thought, can't be bothered. Quite honestly, to be pedantic as treasurer, the books are either right or they're wrong. Whether they're up or down wrong doesn't matter, they're wrong. And they are, you know, as I said, we've got £4 more money than I've got things. I checked everything. The catering stuff was self-contained. The raffle was self-contained, which left a big heap of money in the middle. Well, I've got a list of people that paid for the trip to Mathers. So I separated that money out. What was left was what people paid for subscriptions. And it's £4 up. So, I don't know, it didn't come out of my pocket. So anyway, I've just let it go. To say, as long as it's up, I don't think anybody's going to complain. You know, if it was £50 down, I'd have to sit there till I found it. But yeah, we'll let it go. It's not the first time it's happened. Normally it's somebody else who's contributed that can't add up. But anyway, but it wasn't a bad meeting. It was the committee meeting beforehand was tedious because we had to discuss our own show that's coming up at the beginning of March, which is our 50th anniversary, and you know, we're doing a few sort of specials. I mean, basically, if you come to that show, I think it's the 2nd or the 3rd of March, whatever the Saturday is at the beginning of March anyway, if you come to that show, if you pay £3 to get in. If you join the society on that day, now as a single person that would be £15, yeah? So you've spent £3. To join, you spend £15, but we refund your entrance fee. So to join, you're only paying £12, yeah? And in addition to that, you get a free mini Phalaenopsis in bloom, that's got to be worth at least £10. So you're joining the society and getting an orchid for a couple of quid. It's a no-brainer. We're hoping that a lot of people will decide to join. We may never see them again, but we'll have made a few bucks out of them just by that offer. So we're hoping that, and we're hoping some people will come to meetings and, you know, show an interest and all that sort of stuff. So you've been told, if you want an almost free Phalaenopsis and join the society, come to the show at the beginning of March. And we'll be very pleased to see you. But there was a lot of discussion on how we're going to do that. We've got another Orchid Society have asked to put a display on at our show. Well, we can't say yes until we've worked out how much room we've got, because we've got extra things going in, so we've taken one item out. somebody else is getting squashed and not having as much room as they normally have. So it's all a bit complicated, so that took a while. And then we had to discuss the change of venue for the Midsummer International Orchid Show, which is it's not going to be at Malvern, it's definitely going to be in the NEC. There is no way, it doesn't seem to be a way round that. Our decision is, are we going to go? Are we going to put on a display like we always have at that show? That show's gone from all sorts of places, Peterborough, before my time, and other places over the years. We've always attended that International Orchid Show. To not be there, I don't think is on. We need to go there. If it's hard work and not worth our while, we'll know not to go the following year. But if we don't go, we won't know. So we need to go this year. That was my view, not everybody's. Yeah, it's fraught with logistical problems that we didn't have at Malvern. But they're not insurmountable. Some people are just being awkward. You know, they've had it good for too long, and now they've got to put themselves out a bit. And you know, some people have got their knickers in a twist, as they say. But I'm sure we're going to go. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to be involved, but we need a setup team. It's effectively nearly a week long. The judging takes place on Wednesday, so all the plants and the setup have got to be done ready for Wednesday. It opens to the public on Thursday to Sunday, so it's a 4-day open event, plus the setup and the judging bit. And the team that go there to do that aren't going to stay for the whole time, so we need somebody else on Sunday to take the stuff down and bring the plants home. Plus we need somebody on the stand on every day. And one person can't do that. You can't expect somebody to man a stand all day long, you know, without having a break, going for some lunch, needing a wee. You know, there's all sorts of reasons why you can't just be there all day long. So we've got some logistics to sort out. Quite honestly, the venue is easier to get to than the other one was, except for the last couple of miles, because you'll just be sat in a queue of traffic, basically. Anyway. So that's coming up. That's not till June, so we don't have to worry about that yet. The first Orchid show of the year will be in February, towards the end of February. That will be Bournemouth Orchid Society. I won't be filming, but I'm sure I can organise some stills. Hannah's coming. She'll take some stills on her phone and send me the lot, and I'll just put a slideshow together, so we'll have something to show for it. And then our show, I think, is a week after. If not 2 weeks after, but they're very close together this time round. So a couple of shows coming up. Yeah, so that was that. Yeah, a long meeting, and then the actual meeting where the rest of the members come in. We had a couple of society members stood up the front and talked about media, and I desperately sat at the back trying not to doze off. I was actually starting to do the books, so I wasn't actually concentrating on what they were saying. I was just busying myself at the back, basically. Yeah, so that was that. What else? Up in here, I've told you about what I'm doing with the lights. We don't need to go over that again. I've covered it. I've also mentioned about reshuffling the shelves round and moving things around. So again, I don't need to go into the detail of that. Moving the shelves around and everything won't happen until the natural Mother Nature's day length is up to speed, and I can stop using the lights. Then I can move everything around. So that's coming. And yes, the channels. The merge will be, if you are only signed up to the gardening channel, yeah, if you're only subscribed to the gardening channel and you want to carry on watching the gardening videos, they won't be going on that channel anymore. They'll be going on the new combined channel, so you will need to subscribe to that one if you want the notifications and everything. If you're subscribed to the Bonsai channel, you will be getting gardening videos on that channel as well as the bonsai videos, so they'll be combined. They're both outdoors, they're both in the same place. I think they might work well together. And lots of people suggested a much shorter name. Well, it's going to be called Roger's Garden and Bonsai. I don't like flashy names with words joined together that people look at it and think, what's that? What's that mean? No, simple English that everyone can read. So that's what it's going to be, and from my point of view, all I've actually got to do is change the channel name in 2 places on YouTube Studio and the job's done. I've got a new logo, well, 3 changes then, changed the name twice in 2 places, and changed the logo so that it's got the combined name on it, and then that's it, the job's done. And all future videos to do with the garden and the bonsai will go on that channel, the combined channel. So the gardening channel, I'm going to put a video on the front, you know, one of these introduction videos, saying that these videos are from when I moved in for the first 2 years of trying to get this garden straight, tidying it up, you know, reclaiming it from the overgrown things, getting rid of a huge dead tree, and that's what it is. It'll be a 2-year period of playing with the garden, and it'll be like set in stone. It won't change. It won't get deleted or anything. The videos will still be there. But then all new ones will go on the new combined channel, so that when I do a gardening video sometime this week, which I probably will, it'll earn me some pennies because it'll go straight on a monetised channel. So that's what it's all about, and that's what's happening. So that's that. There's not much else to say about what's going on in here. Hopefully the lights are going to be doing their job and things are going to start coming back into growth soon. The weather's turned reasonably mild again now, so obviously I've got heat coming out from the house into here. So far I haven't had to use the heater to raise the daytime temperatures. But if we get a cold snap and that doesn't increase the daytime temperatures enough to go with the increase in the day length, I will change the thermostat during the day as well, and then set it back to 15 at night. So it's all in hand, it's all under control, I know what I'm doing. That'll be the day. The hell it will. Yes, so that's that. And let's have some coffee. Quite a lot of talking yesterday and a fair old bit of lifting and carrying, so you have to help with tables and putting chairs out and stuff like that. And when I get up the next day after a meeting, I always sort of think, ooh, ow, because I'm not used to doing all that sort of stuff, so I always get back twinges on the Sunday, like what I've got now. Right, spotlight. So those who don't like spotlight videos, this is your time to say goodbye. Thanks for your time so far. Hopefully see you again soon. If you're staying for the spotlight, I suppose you want to know what it is before you make your decision to stay for the full thing. I'm doing a spotlight on a relatively controversial orchid on the grounds that depending on where you read about it, you will get different information. But there's certain bits of information that make it easier for, at least for somebody like me, to determine where this thing comes from. And what we're going to look at is Dendrobium Victoria Regina. So let's get it down. Luckily it's in an easily accessible place. He says, reaching up into one of his brightest light shelves. Our survey said, that's not where it should be. So it's going to get moved. If I can find a hole somewhere else for it to go. Right. This comes from the Philippines. Quite a few different islands, but it basically comes from the Philippines. So what have we got then? We got hot steamy jungles, rocky craggy mountains sticking up the top, coastal areas, flat, open areas. You got the lot in the Philippines. So where does this sit then? Where it comes from isn't really up for debate. It tends to grow in mossy forests. Important point, mossy forests, where azaleas and rhododendrons are often found growing. Now, Irrespective of that fact that's an orchid, what can you determine from that environment without having to go there, without having to look anything else up? What are you going to get from that? Well, what you're going to get is relatively high humidity, or the moss wouldn't be doing so well, would it? And if azaleas and rhododendrons grow there, they are understory plants. They don't stick out the top of the canopy. So what else can we determine? It's not in the brightest light, is it? Then you've got, depending on where you read, the next factor. So we've got geographically where, we've now got the type of environment. What's the other factor? The one that is so important and people forget. How high? Because how high will determine how warm or cold. Some places class this as intermediate, some places class it as cool, some have said cool to warm, in other words can't make their mind up, and it varies where you read, but basically it tends to come from the higher forests. The elevation it comes from is not down at sea level, it's not down in the lowlands, it's not in the thick jungly bit, it's higher up. So these are going to be cooler forests, and you do tend to get airflow in cooler forests, and in island environments there's always a breeze, there's always a sea breeze, and if that is rising up a mountain it will take moisture with it, and that will explain the mossy forest. So as far as I'm concerned, the net effect of all that information is this is a cooler grower as far as dendrobiums are concerned. Doesn't like excessively bright light, but it's not going to grow in the dark. Bearing in mind this is the UK, this isn't the Philippines, yeah? And what's the other thing that we haven't discussed? Wet. Most places you read about this say it needs to, well, it varies from evenly moist all year round to quite heavily watered during the growing season and less water in the winter season without it getting bone dry for any length of time. So some places you read indicate an essence of winter rest, not a proper rest, not by any means, not a proper rest. But nonetheless, not soaking wet in the winter with low temperatures, which is what I've got. Now this hasn't been repotted since I got it, or has it? It's in one of my pots, so perhaps it has. No, that's got polystyrene chips in the bottom. Now this has got some active roots. Comes from mossy forests. Some places specifically state always found with its roots in the moss. It actually specifically says that. So growing it in chunky bark might not be the best of ideas. So this is on the list to be repotted. So as far as my plant is concerned, that's going to go up nearer the front of the list because there are some active root tips going on here. It's got quite an extensive root system, but a lot of these roots are quite old and tired. And the last new growth it put up technically wasn't a new growth, it was a kiki. So this growth here with the leaves on, I suppose it does start at the base. But this one over here doesn't. This cane that's grown right up here was the previous one. That was a kiki. That started an inch from the base. That's got a live root growing on it at the moment. It is deciduous, in other words it puts up leaved canes that do eventually drop their leaves usually the following year. So if you get a new growth in the spring, it'll normally hold its leaves through that winter, and then sometime after that, possibly in the summer, maybe later, maybe as it goes into the following winter, but it will eventually drop its leaves, and it tends to bloom most of the time on the leafless canes. It can bloom any time of year, and if it's grown well it could be in bloom many times of the year. The blooms last a pretty long time, so you can have one of these in bloom. You know, if you had 2 or 3 of these plants you'd probably have flowers all through the year. I haven't got enough of a plant to split this yet, not by any means. So there you go. The other thing about the blooms, it's worth noting, they are a deeper bluer colour. They're not true blue, they are purple, lilac, whatever you want to call it. But they are as close to blue as you can probably get in an orchid without going to the Aussie terrestrials, some of which are true blue. Sky blue in some cases, stunning. But this is as near to blue as you're likely to get without artificial colouring. And the cooler it's being grown, when the blooms are coming out from their buds into the blooms, the darker the colour will be. The colours tend to lighten and lose their depth in brighter light. So that's another good reason for getting it off that shelf, so that the next litter of blooms we get have got the deepest colour. So yeah, it's probably one of my favourite dendrobiums as far as the bloom colours are concerned. So I'm just desperately scanning these canes to see if there's a sign of any green coming out of the nodes, but I can't see anything at the moment. I think this cane here, that's the one that fell over and I had to cut the top because it snapped. But that was the last big cane that I grew. That cane has had no blooms on it yet, so that is highly likely to bloom sometime this year. The books say, and the writings and the scrolls and all that sort of stuff say, it blooms best, at its best, in spring into summer. So maybe we'll get some blooms on this one. But although these have bloomed quite a few times, it doesn't mean they won't bloom again. It can bloom many times on the same cane over quite a few years. This one is still growing, although it's slow, but it's nowhere near full size. And there is a nubbin on that cane. I wonder what that's going to do. For that to be buds, I'll be very surprised when the cane itself is still green and still growing. But it's a dendrobium. They decide to do things just to mess you about. So you say one thing and then the plant does something else. So there we go, Dendrobium Victoria Regina. Lovely plant. And something that, if it does grow at relatively high elevations in mossy forests, which means it doesn't need the intense bright light, yeah, then there's no reason why that shouldn't do well here. But I think it desperately needs a repot. It's been in there since I got it, which is some time ago. That took some getting, that did. Actually, Sarah by the scruff of the neck. I asked and asked and asked. I badgered Arthur because they've got probably a dozen or more specimen plants in huge baskets. They're absolutely stunning. And when they're all in bloom, they often put them in a big row in the orchid paradise, and you walk in, you think, oh wow. And every now and again, a specimen plant will be split up. When you split it up at the Victorias, oh, I'm sure we'll do one soon. Put my name on the list. Yeah, put your name on the list. And we'll let you know when we've got some. Next visit. Done any of those Victorias yet? No, we haven't got round to those yet. We'll be doing them soon. Yeah, you said that last time. And in the end, I started saying, look, are you ever going to do one of these? And not long after that, Sarah sent me an email saying, we've split up a couple. We've got some single and double cane ones, and we've got a couple of slightly larger ones. Do you want one of those? I said, yes, please. Put it to one side. I'll come and get it soon. I did the soon the same as she'd been doing for ages. But she's thinking, oh, he's going to be months before he comes and gets that. It was literally within a couple of weeks. So I got a reasonable size one to start with. And I wouldn't say it cost an arm and a leg either. So it came into bloom not long after, so I was well pleased. So there we go. That's that one. That's the spotlight. If you're still here, thanks for staying with it. And videos coming up this week. The videos last week got a bit messed up and I lost my sequence. There's some logic there. Looking at videos on YouTube that advise how to handle YouTube. One of the strict no-nos, according to quite a few of them, not just one, is don't do the same thing on the same day every week. because it becomes predictable, and any of your regular audience that don't particularly like that type of video, but perhaps like all the others, they just won't turn up on that day. So keep them guessing is the is the logic. So, you know, the regular Wednesday video, you know, viewers request, no, it won't always be on Wednesday. It'll be sometime during the week. It won't be on Sunday. That is a regular, not changing that. And it's the same with the blast from the past. Oh, we do those on Fridays. Yeah, well, if people don't want to see videos they may well have seen before, they just won't turn up. So a bit of variety based on, you have to come and have a look and see what's there. Because there'll be something there most days, won't there, the way I work. So that's why things are not necessarily going to be on a regular basis. Shuffle things around a bit. But the other thing that I do need to be a little more clear on is the titles of the videos really ought to say reasonably clearly what's in there, to avoid annoyance. If you've got a misleading title and somebody thinks, oh great, I've been looking for a video on that, and they get 2 minutes in and think, that's not about that at all, they get annoyed, and now they don't like your channel. So misleading titles is not good. So I need to tighten up on those a bit. These are only little changes, not the end of the world, is it? So it takes a little bit of extra thought. So there we go, and my battery's about to go, I need to go. It's going to beep any second now. I can see the countdown. Anyway, thanks for dropping by. I'll see you next time. There'll be something on Tuesday, I don't know what. Won't be anything tomorrow, it's my day off, and hopefully get the broadband sorted out and tried and tested, and then we'll go from there. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.